Lebanon has been established as a diverse food culture through its religious, historical, and social influences. Lebanon itself is located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, bordered by Syria and Israel. Its country spans around 10,400 square kilometres and is populated by over 4 million people. The Lebanese culture is also represented throughout the world with growing populations in various countries. The population of Lebanese migrants in Australia has grown significantly, with the first mass influx of migration beginning in the late 1800s following the first of 3 civil wars. In Australia, the total Lebanese diaspora, referring to both Lebanese born and their descendants, is around 250,000. America and Canada combined is home to approximately 583,000 immigrants and descendants, while the largest population figures is found to be in Brazil, consisting of around 6 million Lebanese diaspora.
Food is an integral part of the Lebanese culture. Their food is their life, and sharing food is one of the greatest delights of being alive. Traditional dishes and the social attributes that are associated is reflected in the culture's history and how it has modernized over time. This rich culinary history stems from the unique connections with the Babylonians, Phoenicians, Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, Persians, Byzantines, and Turks. These connections have enhanced culinary aspects of the modern-day traditional food. The Lebanese cuisine underpins their identity, characterizing the diversity of who they are today, their beliefs, traditions, celebrations, and most definitely their culture.
Food plays a crucial role in all cultures and is characterized by many factors including social, cultural, religious, food laws and beliefs, environmental and geographical, traditions, celebrations, and trade. Situated on the eastern Mediterranean Sea, the geographical location of the country influences the type of foods that it can consume. Due to the rugged location of the Lebanese mountains and the lack of river and harbour, cultivated areas fertile for food growth is limited to less than 30% of the total land mass. Located past the East Mountains in central Lebanon is the Bekaa Valley, which is the most fertile land within Lebanon. Although there is only a small amount of area in which farming can occur, Lebanon is able to support itself agriculturally. Southern lands from the Bekaa Valley to the Mediterranean Sea allows for growth of traditional Mediterranean crops such as tobacco and figs. Central lands in the Bekaa Valley traditionally grow banana and citrus fruits, whilst northern lands grow olives as they are resistant to the harsher environments.
Lebanon produces and exports much of its agricultural produce to neighbouring Arab countries as well as to France, Italy, and the US. However, the country still imports much of what the people consume, such as rice and some vegetables. A large portion of the population reside in the city, and therefore the only people who grow their own food live in mountain villages and coastal towns. While Lebanon does not have a caste system, money has become an important factor in distinguishing who can afford certain foods and how or when they are consumed. However, most staple foods are relatively inexpensive to buy, or alternatively, fruits, vegetables, and some meats can be grown at home.
The traditional diet in Lebanon is Mediterranean, with staple foods such as breads, legumes, pulses, yogurt, red meats, and a range of spices. These foods are used regularly in traditional meals, which are enjoyed on many cultural and religious occasions. Religion is an important social aspect of the Lebanese culture, with the country's 2 main religions being Christianity and Islam. These influential religions guide both the major holidays and celebrations, but also food laws and overall food consumption. Pork is quite uncommon as it is forbidden under the Islamic law, and during Lent, Christians eat meatless dishes, and at Barbara, also known as Halloween, meals are usually wheat-based. Ramadan, the Muslim month of fasting, is another significant religious tradition. In the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, Muslims do not consume food between sunrise and sunset. However, when the night falls, they come together with friends and family to share in a celebratory feast. At the end of Ramadan, the festival that breaks the feast is held and food is shared once again with loved ones to mark the end of the religious tradition. Celebrations are often the most social occasions for the Lebanese people. The most important social gatherings are usually tied to family, including events such as engagements, marriages, and births and baptisms if the family is Christian. These usually incorporate large feasts to be shared amongst loved ones.
The Lebanese cuisine combines the sophistication of European food with diversity of Eastern spices. This provides a framework for an exotic range of traditional dishes recognised internationally. A Lebanese meal centres mainly around spices, herbs, and fresh ingredients, with it being quite rare to consume leftovers. Lebanon has the ability to sustain consumer demands for food agriculturally, and this corresponds to the notion that fresh ingredients are a core aspect of a traditional diet. Cinnamon, nutmeg, parsley, mint, oregano, and garlic are some of the more frequently used seasonings, while heavy sauces are less common in traditional dishes.
A staple food in Lebanon is bread, and a meal will always consist of either flatbread or pita. It is considered a fundamental part of the diet, so much so that some Arabic dialects associate bread with the word esh, meaning life. An assortment of dips usually accompany bread, with hummus being a popular choice. Other important foods and staples include legumes and pulses, as well as nuts, with the most traditional being walnuts, pine nuts, and almonds. The availability of meat is often limited, particularly in the mountains, so large amounts of vegetables and pulses are consumed. The agricultural and farming industry in Lebanon allows for vegetarian dishes to make up a large part of the diet, with an abundance of fruit and vegetables grown locally. Kib is the national Lebanese dish and incorporates ground lamb with a cracked wheat paste similar to pate.
Lunch is considered the main meal in a traditional diet and usually occurs around 2 p.m. It begins with meze, which consists of many as 40 small dishes presented as either appetizers or as a meal itself. Although meze is translated as starters, it actually represents much more than this. It is a ritual of sharing a large number of dishes which centers around friends and family. This is followed by a main meal, often kib, accompanied by many side dishes laid out in the center for all to help themselves. Lebanese meals are usually served in this way, reflective of a culture that values friends, family, and the social aspect of food. As many of the traditional Lebanese dishes center predominantly around spices and staple foods such as legumes, pulses, rice, fruits and vegetables, yogurts, and red meats, it is quite an adaptable cuisine that is readily available in Australia. An abundance of fresh fruit and vegetables are offered in Australia, as well as a diverse range of additional food items. This provides easy access for the Lebanese population who reside here to continue with their traditional eating patterns and food consumption. Many of the food components can be found in regular supermarkets, but if a very culturally specific food is unavailable, there are a multitude of Lebanon grocery stores that provide for the Lebanese population.
Acculturation has significantly impacted on the traditional foods and eating patterns of the Lebanese population. Over time, the Lebanese culture has evolved substantially, and with it, so has consumer tastes and demands. This has had various repercussions in terms of the traditional Lebanese foods and dietary habits, including changes to the ingredients being used and the percent contribution of macronutrients to energy intake. Recent studies on food consumption patterns have demonstrated a change in the food consumed toward increased intake of fat, milk, and animal protein, and decreased intake of non-refined carbohydrates, including whole wheat, bread, and cereals. It seems the Lebanese diet is developing similarly to that of a westernized dietary pattern that is high in saturated fat, sugar, and refined foods, and is low in fiber. This is linked to an increased risk of non-communicable diseases such as obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and hypertension.
A traditional Lebanese diet, which consists of a diverse range of foods, is renowned for its positive health effects. This has sparked a lot of interest in the form of large-scale studies, many of which support the notion that a diet characterized by a high ratio of monounsaturated fats to saturated fats, high consumption of legumes, moderate intake of fish, low to moderate intake of dairy products, moderate intake of alcohol, and a low intake of saturated fats, meat, and poultry has a positive effect on longevity and prevention of morbidity.
Several parallels can be drawn between a traditional Lebanese diet and the Australian dietary guidelines. For example, the Australian guidelines recommend that saturated fats are replaced with foods containing unsaturated fats, such as monounsaturated fats or polyunsaturated fats. Rice, bread, fruits, and vegetables strongly outweigh the consumption of meat in the average Lebanese diet. This is also reflected in the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, where fruit, vegetables, and grain foods make up a large portion of the diet in contrast to meat. However, the Australian guidelines suggest that the consumption of alcohol, if at all, should be limited, while in a Lebanese diet, moderate intake of alcohol is considered to have health benefits. This contradicts the Australian dietary guidelines, which recognises that a high intake of alcohol is associated with an increased risk of obesity and chronic diseases, including heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and some cancers.
When comparing the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating with the Lebanese Food Guide, various differences are also evident. The Lebanese Food Guide provides a food guide cedar tree, a local take on the more traditional food pyramid. This reflects the Lebanese diet with a low intake and approximately 2 serves of fish per week, and a regular consumption of legume-based dishes. However, according to the Australian Dietary Guidelines, regular consumption of fish may help to reduce the risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and macular degeneration in the eyes. Whilst it is known that fresh ingredients such as fruits and vegetables make up a large portion of a Lebanese meal, it is not reflected in their food guide, which recommends only 2 to 3 serves per day. This is half of what the Australian guidelines suggest. However, the Lebanese recommendation for the consumption of lean meats, nuts and seeds, eggs and legumes is 2 times more than the Australian guidelines, reflective of the Lebanese culture where it is known that the consumption of legumes is quite high. They have many health benefits as they are rich in protein, fibre, and many essential vitamins and minerals, promoting good heart and digestive health.
Overall, food plays an essential role within the Lebanese culture. Many factors contribute to their cuisine, some of which include social, religious, and cultural aspects. A traditional Lebanese diet, in comparison to the Australian dietary guidelines, although different, is shown to provide many health benefits within the foods they regularly consume.